If your home is hitting the market, your photos are not just pictures. They are your first showing. Welcome back to the Rock and Realty Podcast. Today, I'm giving you a backstage pass to everything real estate photography. I'm chatting with Jacob Markowiak, a professional real estate photographer and owner of Pumpkin House Photography in Orangeville, Ontario. We're going to talk about what sellers should know about preparing their homes, what buyers are looking for, and what can make your listing stand out. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you never miss an episode. I've got some amazing guests lined up all around the real estate process, buying, selling, and maybe a little rock and roll too. So you don't want to miss it. Let's get into it. So if you're looking to make your next move, whether it's to Orangeville, Dufferin County, or the surrounding area, people just like you reach out to me every single week to help them with their next move. And I would love to have a private conversation with you to see how I can help you make the right decisions, avoid costly mistakes, and properly guide you through the process. Click on the link in the description below to set up a time. Now let's get into this episode. Welcome, Jacob. I'm so happy to have you today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hi, my name's Jacob Markowiak, and I am the principal owner at Pumpkin House Photography in Orangeville. We are a commercial media company providing all kinds of visual media photography to filmmaking and content creation for a variety of different verticals, but we spend most of our time in the real estate space.
How did you get started in real estate photography?
Well, my background is sales, and I had been working in the commercial furnishings industry for a very long time, and spending a lot of time with interior designers and architects and the sort of dealers and distributors that move in those spaces. So I had a lot of exposure to interior architectural photography and media of that sort. And being a hobbyist photographer, I had tried my hand at it a few times and everything, and realized that at one point that I had started to develop a knack for it. Yeah, there was the one night, it was a Saturday evening, raining, I think April or May one year. And this is actually slightly pre-COVID, and was watching some real estate videos on the MLS, just kind of idly browsing while my wife was watching something on TV that I wasn't really interested in. And I realized about 5 or 6 videos in that I hadn't watched any of them to the end because they were just disappointing. And the standard of presentation media that I was accustomed to in my industry, it shocked me the how different it was in terms of what realtors were getting out of their content creators. I figured for an asset that's going to be selling for vastly more per unit than anything I had ever sold, I thought that clients probably deserved a little bit better. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try my hand at it and see if it really is as hard as it looks. Turns out it kind of is, but if you apply the right type of mindset to creating the content, and for me, the approach was from the eye of an artistic photographer, a fine art photographer, that the difference that I could create with the media that I was presenting was, it was just kind of a different world. And I think that things have changed a lot over the last 5 years. I think real estate media in a lot of places around the globe has evolved dramatically. But at that time, I just picked up a DSLR camera, which is not meant for video at all. Recorded my own house, presented it to a buddy of mine who is a real estate agent here in Dufferin County, and he liked what he saw. So it just kind of like went from there, and we've been growing by leaps and bounds year over year, every year since we got started. And now we're facing serious business problems like scaling and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty exciting.
Would you say that was the moment that you realized that the work that you do truly affects the outcomes for sellers and agents?
Yes. So I think that there's a little bit of confusion sometimes among salespeople that haven't had any kind of formal sales training. Nobody has a degree in sales. You know what I mean? So like, where do you pick this stuff up if not from mentors and from the examples of people around you, unless you went to a company like Xerox and learn their methods. But when it comes to how your presentation media can affect the outcome of a sale, it's not so much about drawing somebody closer to signing on the line. It's about creating interest that a qualified salesperson will then convert into a sale. And that's my job. That's what we do at Pumpkin House, is we try to create as much interest among the viewers as we possibly can, as far as the realtor's reach can go by using, all of the channels that are available to us and try to create as much interest as we possibly can. And that comes to things like the type of camera movement, the type of shot decisions that we make by studying great directors from Hollywood. Those are the sort of things that inform the type of shots that we make, and also infusing a very high degree of musicality, because we found that we can very deliberately tug on the heartstrings of viewers by making the right selections when it comes to music and giving that half of the presentation the space that it needs to kind of guide the dance of how the camera is moving through the property. And all of those things combine to a lasting impression. And so we know that majority of buyers, whether it's in real estate or any other industry at this point, people are making most of their decisions online before they ever speak to a salesperson. And so
So
we
true.
want to do what we can to create a little bit of separation between the product that we're representing and competing products in the marketplace. So if somebody's, boil it down to it's either this house or this house or this house, if there's something that is pulling you back to that one that we shot, maybe for reasons that you can't name, maybe there's a sense of nostalgia, maybe there's something about it that just feels a little bit more inviting, we think that that will elicit a different kind of response on the sales end.
100%. Being a realtor and having used your services specifically, I have absolutely seen that happen in real time. And I really love the connection that you made between being a partner to the salesperson. You're bringing the people in, and it's our job to really be able to convert that to whether it's an offer, whether there's more interest, or even a second showing. What is the most misunderstood part of your job?
I think the most misunderstood part of our job comes back to a little bit of what we've already touched on, and that is our
Okay.
relationship to the sales process at large. We will sometimes have to work as the de facto consultant with agents on how to publish and distribute the media that's been created. So we'll kind of touch that a little bit. We're directing people on screen. Sometimes it can create a little bit more engagement if there's somebody in the frame. So we encourage realtors to participate in agent intros and sales presentations on screen as much as we possibly can, because we'll know that that will drive a little bit more interaction and everything. And people are equipped to lock on to faces. So if there is a face in the screen, you're going to tend to pay attention to that particular part of the frame and resist scrolling. Perhaps that's kind of the idea. But at the end of the day, we are part of the marketing process, not part of the sales process. And so, like, coming back to your question, what is the
Mhm.
what is something that people might not necessarily be aligned with us on is the role of the media. So if there's somebody who's
Mhm.
making decisions about whether or not it's worth it to invest in well produced real estate media, and maybe the sort of agent that just wants to like use their iPhone or whatever to take pictures on their own, thinking that they're going to sell the house one way or the other, that's probably true, right? Because like whether or not the video was awesome isn't necessarily the last thing that makes somebody decide whether to buy a house or not.
That's
Like I
true.
said before, it could be the reason why they were interested in the first place, but it's not going to be what gets the deal closed. And I feel like understanding that the media that is created reaches far beyond that transaction and can start to color your brand and help kind of inform other people in how to regard the treatment that the clients are going to get with you, the
Mm.
type of presentation quality that they can expect for their product that's being represented by somebody else. And I think it does a lot to create long-term credibility for agents as well. So it sort of transcends the transaction in that respect, in a way that I think is sometimes lost to some agents.
It's so true. There's so many different partners that as realtors we take throughout this entire process. And each one of you have such an important part in that process. But when it comes to marketing and media, I mean, we do part of that marketing, but we need that media to support the message of what are we doing? What are we selling? What is it about this property? What is it about this community? And I know we're going to touch on it a little later about kind of how you do the videos and the photography to incorporate all of that, which is really exciting and one of the big reasons why I use you. But yeah, that's a really good connector. We're all moving towards the goal of ensuring that our client has the best experience. period.
Yep.
So this is a big part of it for me. So
Yep.
with the spring market just around the corner, at least me, I'm praying for the spring market because this snow is killing me. But with the spring market right around the corner, what does a typical week look like for you in peak season? And is spring peak season for you?
Yeah, it tends to be. So we actually were getting a little bit confused by what we were seeing in the marketplace. So, like in our first 4 years, every one of those 4 years seemed to be an outlier in one way or another. So it
Yes.
became difficult for us to forecast from quarter to quarter. We had no idea what to expect because we didn't really have any history that would inform us what to expect in following months and everything because every year looked different from the year before. Last year was the first time that our numbers actually reflected what our expectations were. So we actually saw a peak in activity for the spring market. It quieted down in August and then it picked up again in the autumn and fell off in the winter time, which is pretty much where that's sort of tapering off now. We're starting to pick up. So yeah, springtime does tend to be busier than the autumn for us, but that just means that those are the times that are busiest for the realtors that we're working with. Yeah, a typical week during peak season is it's scary to be honest. There have been times in the past where we're booked 2.5 weeks out, and we're just booked back to back to back to back. And because of the time and the resources that it takes to create the content the way that we do it, we're not shooting 5 houses a day. So it means that say a Tuesday morning, I think would probably be a good place to start. I'll be getting up sometime around 6 a.m. To start getting the stuff back from my editors from the previous night. So I use an outside editor who is absolutely brilliant. We use her for our interior photography. We do all of our exterior photography and all the sky replacements here in house. Thanks to her, we're a 24-hour operation during peak season.
Cool.
So there's always somebody working for the customer, like at all times, day and night, because we'll flip it over to her and she's editing through the night. I'll get that email in the morning, and then nothing goes out to you until it gets a final pass from me or from Riley. So there's somebody here in Orangeville in this studio that's doing the final pass, and we have a couple of things that we'll do. They're sort of like universal adjustments that we'll make to the photography and everything. But that's where we really dial in and make all of our local adjustments as well, and turn it from something that's already very good into something that we consider like pumpkin house quality before it goes out. So we want to get all of the deliveries done, if we can, before we head out for our first shoot. Dufferin County, we serve Dufferin, Wellington, Peel. We're in Toronto sometimes. Like travel time is a factor for us. So as soon as we need to, we're heading out and we're on the road. We're generally on set for anywhere from, depends what being ordered. We can be there for less than an hour if it's a simple project. But for what most people are coming to us for, we'll be on set for about 2.5 to 3 hours.
It's funny from our perspective on the agent side, we don't see any of this. And what I love to do on this podcast is kind of pull the curtain back, give people a backstage pass to how things are done on that end. So for me, I pick up the phone, I call you or I email you saying, hey, I need photos done at this house. You or Riley show up and then you go away and then you deliver my work and it's done. But when you hear about all the different steps that go into it, like walk me through that process from like booking to delivery. What happens behind the scenes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like one of the things that makes it a particularly challenging type of like photography to be in is the timelines. It's like if we're shooting a wedding, generally the bride and groom are expecting to see their photographs rather, for a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks is not completely unusual in the summertime.
That's right.
We're delivering everything the next day.
You
And
love it.
so like for us, we try to keep the booking process as simple as we possibly can. So the booking process will usually start with email, text, phone call, however anybody wants to reach out to us. And we'll get to work getting the information that we need so that we can determine, one, when do you actually need it listed? That's the most important thing. And what type of media are you going to be looking for so that we can start mapping things out and slotting into the schedule. And then come the day before, our customers get a reminder email saying, hey, just a heads up that your photographer is going to be at ABC address for, XYZ time. This is how long we're expecting to be on set. Some last minute instructions for agents to help them as consultants to the vendors. And then, and that's when we start the process of getting her done.
And so when you're planning for a shoot for a house, because I know I've had you out to a house, how different is planning for a shoot for a condo or a
Yeah.
rural property or even a luxury listing? Like what are kind of the different planning or different things that you consider for each type of property?
Yeah. So in order for us to be efficient, we have to do something referred to as shooting for the edit. So to avoid being on set all day and all night, we need to be thinking about what the final result needs to look like and then take all of the steps necessary to get us to that objective. So if we're shooting something in the suburbs, which is most of what we shoot, it's one of those things where like we just kind of show up and do it. It's hard to explain. We bring everything with us in case there's an opportunity to showcase something that we didn't think of before we got there, or something that the agent hadn't considered. Like if it's a ravine lot, for instance, having aerial photos is
Mm.
sometimes a good idea, right? And present the whole scope of the property beyond the fence, things like that. Condos are particularly challenging, and
Mm.
it's funny because we'll hear from agents for the first time, for instance, and say like, "Oh, it's just a small condo. It's not going to be much work. It's only like 650 square feet." Okay, where are the amenities? Well, there's a party room and a library on the first floor. There's a workout room on the third floor. There's a pool in an adjacent building that the tenants of this building will have access to. So you have another set location that you have to think about. And with buildings, they tend to be in more populous places. Quite often, they're nearby airports. So if we're going to be supporting it with aerial photography and footage, we have to be mindful of where the restricted airspace is and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Signal loss is a big problem when you're flying drones around buildings. And you definitely don't want to have an aircraft stranded out there with nobody actually commanding it. So there's, yeah, condos can be a lot. And for those condos where we're doing photo and film, everything has to be lugged around twice. So imagine we're going to the pool and the saunas and the tennis courts and all that kind of stuff with the photo camera. We're doing it all again with the video camera, and so those ones can be a real handful. It can be rewarding too. It can be a lot of fun. But and then for the rural properties, we're thinking a lot of times about use. Is this going to be sold to a farmer as an active
Mm.
farm with a lot of arable land? Is this going to be a lifestyle project where we're trying to convey feelings for people who are perhaps moving from the city and they're looking to have a little bit of space so that the dogs have somewhere to run and maybe there's a like, creek or something like that? But it really depends on who the agent expects their target audience to be when it comes to the rural projects, because those could be quite different depending on where we're putting our attention. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. What's interesting, you pinpointed something about a condo that is really interesting is, we're not just selling the condo, we're selling the lifestyle, we're selling the amenities,
Yeah.
we're selling everything that's around your condo. And it's such an important piece, not only to realtors, but also to the sellers, like the access that, you will need to do the photography that you need, the video that you need, and so on. So all of the information that we as realtors can share with you up front will just make your life easier that day. Yeah.
In those cases where we do happen to have a chance to meet a homeowner before they leave and turn the house over to us for a couple hours, some things that I like to ask are, like how would you define your experience of living here? You know what I mean? Like, is there a special moment in this house that I should be looking for? Is there a space where you like to retreat with a cup of tea and a book? Because if it's something that they've enjoyed about the property, there's a very high likelihood that the next person is going to enjoy that thing as well. And then I'll always ask
Yep.
them about what their taste in music is as well and everything. And while we're talking about the property, the house, the home, the condo, they sometimes will call for music. And so gets wheels turning a little bit. And it also prevents us from putting urban hip hop tracks into videos for people who don't like that kind of music, and likewise with country or whatever the case might be. But yeah, it can be really rewarding, and meeting with the homeowners and everything, and getting a sense of how important the home is to them.
Now, in a perfect world, we will give you enough time when we call you
Yeah,
before a listing goes live. What is the ideal time frame? Knowing that sometimes we got to get the house on the market fast,
yeah,
but what's the ideal time frame that you expect from a realtor?
yeah. Uh, I mean, to your point, like it really comes down to whatever the client needs. So if we're able to accommodate a shoot like tomorrow, we're going to do everything that we can to accommodate that
Mhm.
the best way that we possibly can. And now that we've got Riley on full time and he's completely up to speed, we're more able now to do that than we've ever been before, which is really exciting. But ideally, a week would be a good lead time for us to kind of like make sure that we have our ducks in a row and that everything's all ready to go and everything. And there's other little bits of investigation that we'll do before a shoot as well, so that the time isn't just it's just parked on the calendar waiting for us to put it into our map and start driving in that direction. We'll do a little bit of research and a little bit of scouting before we go to a shoot, so that
Right.
we have an idea of what to expect when we get there. And that will kind of calibrate how much time we spend on each of the different types of media that we're creating while we're there. And it can also alert us to things like hazards or sensitive spaces where we don't want to be filming. You know what I mean? If we're going to be filming in a neighborhood that's very close to a public splash pad, we
Mm.
certainly don't want to be walking around with men. So walking around with cameras around a splash pad, that's problematic. So the better informed we are before we get there, the better off everyone's going to be, and the more polished your media is going to be. So those are some of the things that we do at that lead time.
What are some of the non-negotiables when it comes to shoot day? Is there anything like lighting or cluttering or pets or cars in the driveway? Like anything that's like,
Yeah,
no, these are non-negotiables. What are they?
yeah, yeah. It's a good question because, like, my first answer is, well, everything's negotiable, right? But that's really not true. So, I mean, car in the driveway, sometimes the car won't start. And so we'll do what we can to work around that. And we've got very sophisticated tools at our disposal now. We can do a lot of really remarkable things to make a car disappear if we need to. So we'll do whatever we can to accommodate that sort of thing. Hard nose for me are showing up on set and somebody telling us there's a whole bunch of stuff that we need to move out of this room. We're going to move it out of the way so you can do the photography, and then we're going to put it back so that you can shoot the other space that we moved it to temporarily. And my answer then is always like, no, we can't do that. We're going to be going through sometimes with 3, sometimes 4 cameras, even inside the house. So like, let's see if we can get it out to the garage, or maybe we have to reschedule.
Mm.
That's really my only kind of thing. And another thing, I'm going to be honest. Um, Dog poop. Dog poop.
Oh boy, that sounds like a
Yeah,
story.
I like my car, and the last thing I want to do is track uh, dog
Oh,
doo doo from the
that's
soles of my
right. Out
shoes
in the
into somebody's car.
grass. Oh.
Yeah. So if there's, dogs are dogs, and sometimes you miss one. No big deal.
I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because I would be crying otherwise. It's not my favorite thing to at
I'll tell you what
all.
though, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining because I know that our realtor clients go through a great deal more than we do, and I think that's everybody gets a high five from Pumpkin House for all the hard
Yes,
work that you
we'll
guys
take
do.
them.
Because I know that by the time we get there, all the hard work has been done. Something that we like to remind people is that this is your most important showing. This is
Yes.
going to be the one that gets seen sometimes thousands of times. So when that is realized, and it's a concerted effort between the agent, the vendor themselves, stagers, cleaners, all of that work has been done before
Yes.
we roll in with the $24,000 worth of camera equipment and then start doing our thing. So
That's so
yeah,
true.
like
Yep.
I'm not I don't want to disparage anybody and say like, hey, not good enough,
No,
because that's
no.
not
I think
true.
everybody has an important job to do, and it's just it's a piece of the puzzle. Like I said earlier, everybody's part of the transaction, and well placed pieces, a little bit of luck, and some really good meta ads, and that video is going to be shown thousands of times, just like you said.
In terms of exposure, right now we're just over 1.3 million hits on the gallery sites that we create for our clients.
We love
Millions.
we I say we,
Yeah.
but I say I love your gallery sites. They
No, thanks.
are fantastic, and I've said this to you before, they tell me so much information about um, where people are coming from, who's looking at the house, from which area of the city, and it's data, it's information, who's moving up to Orangeville, who's moving into Fergus, like, where are they coming from? And the interest is really coming from the data that
Yeah.
you share every week, which is really great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Is there a way that you handle, like when you get into these maybe condos that are a little bit smaller, or houses that are a little
Mhm.
bit smaller? Is there a way that you handle awkward spaces like small rooms, narrow hallways, or rooms with tricky natural light?
Yeah. So small spaces and tricky natural light are two different problems. So I'll start with the first one. When
Yeah.
it comes to small spaces, one of the ways to resolve that is with a crazy wide lens. If you take a look in a design magazine, take a look at Architectural Digest or Dwell magazine, some of my favorites, you're never going to see anything that was shot with a fisheye from a weird angle.
Mm,
And there's reasons for that. You know what I mean? You're just breaking all kinds of rules of composition and everything. You're not creating anything appealing. You might be documenting that there is a powder room here, great, but people kind of expect to find bathrooms in houses. So they're really not that important to be showcasing as the entire subject of the photo. So the correct way to do it
right.
is move the camera back out of the space. And now you can demonstrate that that room is there, and also you can see its utility, but also demonstrate its relationship to the other spaces in the condo. So the powder room might be adjacent to the kitchen, or it might be adjacent to it's maybe perhaps it's a primary ensuite or something like that. We can show that by photographing the relationship between those two spaces. You have your powder room that's been showcased properly and everything, but really we'll just end up choosing a subject, and it ends up being faucets and fixtures and that kind of stuff. When it comes to light, we don't need as much as you think because we're shooting on tripods, right? So we're shooting bracketed exposures. So we have an expanded dynamic range that we're working with. We can draw a lot of detail out of shadows while also protecting our highlights because we're shooting in brackets of 3, 5, or 7 shots. And all of that is getting stitched together in post processing.
Tricks of the trade. So, what is one quick fix that instantly improves a shoot?
Something that instantly improves, that's a quick fix, is just prepare the house like you're expecting, the King of England. That's probably the best way to make sure that the shoot goes as well as it possibly can. Like, we're going to do everything that we can to showcase the house, whether it's a luxury property or not. And so if we're coming onto a set location that has been treated with the respect that it's due, then the shoot goes really, really well. One not so quick fix, but one that will make a really dramatic improvement to your content is the color temperature of your light bulbs. If they're all
Ooh,
different, it's an absolute mess. And we're doing things in post processing to where we could be desaturating elements that we don't necessarily want to, but we kind of have to because we're accommodating the color cast from light bulbs all over the place.
is there like a preference for the daylights?
Yeah, no. I mean, like, so you also
It
have to
doesn't
live with
matter
these
as
light
long as
bulbs,
it's all
right?
the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, if you
That
have
makes
like
sense.
daylight temperature bulbs in your house, and your bulbs are going to be somewhere between 5,000 and 5,500 Kelvin, it feels a little institutional when you're in the space. Through the camera
Right.
lens, everything looks gorgeous. But when you show up for a showing, that's the last kind of lighting scheme that you want to see. So I would
Right.
suggest lean towards warmer tones, but stick with that instead of having all
That's
these
so
different
good.
variations.
That's great advice. I won't lie. A realtor once told me, before I became a realtor, once told me to change all of our lights in the house to daylights. It was very,
I mean,
very
like, if
bright
you
in there.
like hanging out in Shoppers Drug Mart, you like the way
That's
that light
exactly
looks
what
on
it
your
was.
skin, then yeah,
That's
that's
exactly
cool.
what it was. Walked around
I
with
mean,
more
nothing
blush
against
than I
Shoppers. I
needed
love
most
Shoppers Drug Mart.
days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, think about
So,
clothing stores that you've been into where the lighting is gross. You're
yes,
probably not going to buy anything because you see yourself in the mirror and you're like, no. And it's also it's not cozy. It's not inviting. Think about how restaurants are lit.
so
Any
true.
space where the menu wants you to stick around for a little while. That those
It's
warmer
warmer.
notes, I think, can be really well, and they can be
Great
treated
call
well
out.
when blended with natural light in your photography as well. So
Great call
win
out.
win.
What packages or what are realtors asking for right now? Is it photos? Is it videos? Do they want twilight? Do they want aerials? Are they
Mhm.
asking for less? Are they asking for more? Like, what are realtors kind of asking for right now?
Yeah, this is one that I would like to ask my colleagues the same question because our customers tend to come to Pumpkin House for reasons. So we end up doing most of what we do most of the time. So most of our shoots are going to involve interior and exterior photography shot from the ground and from the air. And we will do a mix of higher altitude and lower altitude photography. We're doing video work. A lot of people discover us in the first place because they've seen one
Mm.
of our showcase films and they're really excited about that. So we'll be filming again from the ground in the air. We'll add a community component and floor plans, the virtual tours. Hit and miss whether or not people are excited about the virtual tours anymore. We do
Hmm.
almost everything on almost every shoot. Like Moon and Miss is our most popular package because it includes everything. I think the Twilights are something that we're not doing nearly as often as we used to. My impression is that people see them as a little bit hokey. And if we're going to be going out and actually shooting a Twilight session, that can be cumbersome for the vendor because now there's a second shoot on the calendar. If you don't have any outdoor feature lights and the house is completely occluded by a lot of trees, don't bother
Not needed.
because
Yeah.
it's not going to help support the story of what the experience of living that house is like by dropping a colored sky in behind.
I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of this incredible podcast session. If you want to see part 2, please click the subscribe button. We'll talk to you soon, and thanks for checking out Rock and Realty.